Money, 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 money. That's what we're talking about today. One of the most important trainings that I can do because it's all about money and how to go from the depths of fear, of worry, of despair, of any money stuff, the money stuff that keeps us up at night, how to go from that place into a place where you can manifest and attract abundance, where you can attract wealth. So I don't know about you, but this entrepreneurial journey for me has been a whirlwind. It has been from the moment I decided to become an entrepreneur. There have been times of massive growth and massive excitement and incredible financial well-being and financial freedom. And then there have been times where I was terrified. I didn't know where the next client would come from or how I was going to make ends meet or if I needed to go back and get a job. So this is all a part of this entrepreneurial journey. However, over the past 5 years, I've been able to uncover how to quickly shift back into that space of financial well-being and financial freedom. I'm going to walk you through the 5 steps. I've really uncovered a system that can very quickly shift your energy around money, even if you are in that spot right now of being terrified about not being able to make ends meet or not being able to pay bills or whatever it may be. So you guys are going to love this one. And if we have clients who are coming up with money objections, we can share this process with our clients as well and help them break through financial fears when it comes to investing in themselves and the things that they want and using your gifts and talents to get them that. So again, just to recap, what today's training is all about is we're going to dig deep. What's so wild is that we all have money fears, yet there's so much shame and guilt and stuff around it. And most people aren't willing to really talk about it. And I want to just bring it all out in the open. I want to air it out because no matter how successful we are or how successful we become, this thing called money seems to always rear its head at given points, at different points in the entrepreneurial journey. And I think there's a myth that people believe once you make it or once you reach a certain financial level, that you never go back to those fears, that you're officially, finally secure and free. And I say it's a myth because most of our money stuff is coming from such a deep place of fear that it's a bottomless pit. Most of our money stuff is coming from our inner critic or our gremlin around worthiness and deservedness and who am I, the who am I syndrome. Who am I to be giving people advice when I'm struggling with some of this stuff myself? And as a result, we believe, the myth is we believe that after we reach a certain financial level, that we will feel secure, that we will feel free in our businesses. And it's just not true. And I can tell you that from my own experience. I remember, and again, I'm going to get into these 5 steps, but I remember so clearly the day that I put my notice in to quit my job to become a full-time coach, a full-time entrepreneur. And I remember it because, of course, it was terrifying. But I also remember that I thought at that time when I quit my job that I would feel like I made it as an entrepreneur if I just replaced my take-home pay. No pension, no insurance, nothing else. I thought, oh my gosh, if I could just replace my take-home pay, which was like net like $2,500 a month or something like that, that I would feel like, wow, I made it as an entrepreneur. I can do this. And then I reached that $2,500 within hardly any time at all. And I was like, oh, what would happen if I doubled it? Oh my goodness, what would happen if I had 5-figure months? What would that be like? Then I would feel secure. How about multiple 5-figure months? Then I'll feel secure. Then I'll feel like I officially made it. Man, that first $20,000 month, I'm going to go buy myself a new car. These are the illusions that we tell ourselves. And this is what puts us on this money hamster wheel where we have an idea, we create a story that tells us when we'll feel financially secure. And we can reach that place and it's still not enough. And that's when we find ourselves pushing for more. And it's because the desires that so many of us have around money are based on fear, are based on a place of lack. So we're going to talk about how to start shifting all that stuff and how to start moving it in the exact ways to get out of it And Wendy, yes, it does go away. So you're going to learn about how it goes away, but it does not go in the way that you think it will. So most people believe it will go away when they reach a certain revenue level. But if the desire for money is coming from a place of lack or fear, it will never go away. So the key is shifting the desire for money into a place of our higher selves, of higher power, of who we really are. And how we do that is very counterintuitive. It is not how we think we're going to do it. So where I'm going with this also is it's important to know right out of the gate, desire in and of itself comes from a place of lack. And I want you to think about that because we hear over and over again, go for your desires and what you really want. And I want you to think about something you have in your life. Think about something you have in your life. For me, I have a supportive, loving, amazing husband. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. And I don't think all day long, how can I get a great husband? How can I find my soulmate? How can I? Because if I were to desire that, I would have, the only reason I would desire it is because I didn't have it. So think about your relationship with money. Desire in and of itself, for those of you that are familiar with the 7 levels of energy, desire falls under level 2, catabolic energy, because we wouldn't desire something unless we were in lack of it. So, right? Whoa, think about that. In order to want it, we have to have the awareness that we don't have it. So we feel like we're coming from a place of lack. So that sets the stage for these 5 steps that we're going to be diving into, because we're going into the depths of shifting all of that from the start point. So you don't get on this train that I was on where it's like more, even the myth that you're not a successful coach or entrepreneur now, unless you're making 7 figures or multiple 7 figures. It's time to dial it all back in and get things into alignment for our own truths, not what other people say is the definition of success, right? Okay, so let's dive into these 5 steps to transform money fears, money worries, hoarding money. Oh, gotta have so much in savings to protect myself just in case for loss, right? All the fears, all the things that we do with money, and all the power and control that we give to money. I want to talk about how to transform that power away from what we give to money and back to you, where the real power lies, where creating abundance and wealth really comes into play. And how when we do the opposite of what we're trained to do, it actually creates the thing that we want the most. And we create it in a way that doesn't come with all the pain and all the striving and all the grasping and all the hustling to do it. Okay, so step number 1. Okay, at any point when you're experiencing money stuff, money fears, I know for me, there would be times when we invested in property and we took out a loan, we're like 24 years old, we invested in a 4-plex and we started having huge repairs coming up, and we're at the minimum wage of our newest jobs. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night. I could not fall back asleep. I was ruminating, so full of anxiety about how to pay for all these repairs and take care of all this stuff. So the first step is that when you feel that anxiety, when you feel that fear, is to give yourself permission to go there. So often we play a ping pong game. It's like fear, anxiety. Oh, it's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Oh, no, you're really panicked. Oh, nope, I'll figure it out. And all of a sudden, that's where the rumination comes in, is we ping pong back and forth. We hear the fear message and then we try to talk ourselves out of it. And we hear the fear message and we try to talk ourselves out of it. So we have to go there. So let the fear have a voice. Go to worst case scenario. Give yourself permission to be in the fear. When we hear face your fears, this is what it means. It means truly coming into relationship with your fear and allowing it to have a voice. So really paint the picture. So if your fear is telling you, oh my gosh, if this doesn't work, I'm going to have to go get a job. Or if we want to ask, then what? Then what? Then what? The magic question is, then what? Oh my gosh, if this business doesn't take off when I leave my cushy job, what's going to happen? Oh my gosh, we're going to be homeless. I'm not going to be able to provide for my kids. Then what? Then we're going to be living on the street. Then what? Then my family will hate me and they'll leave me and I'll be abandoned. Then what? Then I'll feel all alone. Then what? We're giving the fear a voice. We're allowing it to say all of its stuff because it's saying it just leaks it in little pieces and then we shut it up by a rationalization, right? So once we give it the space to just flush it all out, it actually will work its way out. We'll hit a stopgap where there isn't another then what. So now we've got the full picture. The biggest fear, we're staring it right in the face, right? It's right here, every single piece of it. It doesn't even have anything else to say to us because we've allowed it to really just our brains, our thoughts to just get everything out on the table. Then we move into step 2 and we dial it back and we ask, how true is that? How true is it that in a world where there's billions of people, I'm going to be completely alone living under a rock? Then we put in rationalizations that are much more realistic than just the ping pong game. Because now all of a sudden I'll always have parents and I'll always have my children, and that's just not really true. I will never really actually be alone. And wow, it's amazing. I know how to make connections with people, even if my whole family abandoned me. So how true is it really that we won't have a place to live? And this is exactly the process that I did when I was leaving my full-time job. It was like, actually, I'm certain that we've got close friends and family that would take us in. I'm certain that nobody would allow us to live and be homeless with the connections and the relationships and the love that we're surrounded by. And you're not going to be able to make any money. So now it's, okay, how true is that really? The reality is I'm pretty sure I could probably get a job at McDonald's if I really needed to. I think I could find something. There's somebody hiring at least to make enough money to put food on the table, right? And we start realizing how irrational the fear is when we ask that question, how true is that really? And it starts to just dial it all back. So again, worst case scenario, go there, allow it to have a full voice, and then start to ask the voice, how true is that really? How true is that really? And then this is the part that it gets really interesting. This is like the bulk of the work to transitioning, to shifting the vibration from a place of fear, worry, doubt, all of that, anxiety into a place of contentment. So listen carefully. The third step, and the thing that matters the most, is let's just be with that worst case scenario. And we dialed it back and we still are like, it's not what we want. It's not ideal. It's still scary. But let's just imagine we lost everything. We lost the house. We lost the cars. We lost financial security. We lost our pensions. We lost everything. The question is then, what still remains? And this is when we get to the truth that sets us free. And the truth is, and I've been at this place so many times where I realize I have everything that I'm working so hard to get. Meaning what still remains is love, is laughter, is connection, is happiness if I choose it, is the people that matter the most to me, is all of those things that ultimately you hear when people are on their deathbed are the only things that actually ever mattered. And so we get to that place where, and this is where we start to climb what I learned from Abraham Hicks, the emotional grid. We go from fear, worry, doubt, anxiety into a place of contentment when we realize nothing really can be lost. That's really important. Nothing can really be lost. That is most important. And I wrote down a couple of things because you hear some Buddhist quotes but I just want to share them because this is the reality. And it doesn't mean, and there's always a nuance here too. I want to be careful, and we're going to get into these next couple of steps because it doesn't mean we're going to settle for less. It doesn't mean that we're going to tolerate a life less than what we are here to live in the fullest way that we can live a life. It just means that we're shifting. This is the step above worry, fear, anxiety. It's shifting from that into contentment. Once we get to contentment, then we can move up the scale even further, and then we shorten the distance for the manifestation. So there's something I found, and I knew this existed, and I was like, I got to find it for you guys. So true freedom is the realization of the truth of reality, that you, pure consciousness, cannot be affected by anything. It's only our ego that makes us believe otherwise. We can't be affected by anything. The only thing permanent is death, right? And then based on your beliefs, is that even permanent? But then here's where the true freedom lies. And that's that we are never entirely free until we detach from the things that we think we need to be okay. So when we move into this place of contentment and this knowing that the things that matter the most, the things that remain if we were to lose everything, is actually everything. That's actually everything. Those are the things that would remain if we lost everything, are the things that people, when they are on their deathbed, look back at and say mattered. Yet we find ourselves in this place of desire, of need, of feeling financial insecurity, and then we start to strive for all of it to get the things that we already have. Does anybody else feel we have it backwards? We're doing it all backwards. I say this over and over again when I see entrepreneurs busting their butt in their businesses. We're hustling so hard for our freedom. Guess what? We're working so hard to create freedom that we can have right now. And it's financial freedom, it's time freedom, it doesn't matter what it is. So there's an emotional grid. My clients who are on this call, you've probably already seen this. It's based on Abraham Hicks, and it's actually an emotional grid. And we start talking about how you move from fear, anxiety, worry, doubt, boredom, all of these feelings that actually repel the attraction of the thing that we desire. How do you move from that into contentment? And as soon as you move into contentment, which is this whole step 3 that we're talking about, as soon as you move into contentment, you've now come into vibrational alignment with attracting like energy things, with attracting opportunities, with attracting ideas, with attracting creativity. So this first shift that we're talking about is just moving to create space. We've pulled out of the struggle and the tunnel vision of need, fear, worry, and we've just broadened out our view by moving from the fear into contentment. So this emotional grid tells you how close you are to manifesting a desire. Now, I already said something that might feel a little contradictory. I said desires are level 2. Desires only come from a place of lack. Unconscious fear-based desires come from a place of lack. There are also desires that come from our higher selves. But a lot of times we aren't uncovering those desires because the fear is so heavy. And every time I ask somebody when I do calls with people and I'm like, what do you really want? Well, I really want financial freedom. And I'll ask, what will having financial freedom do for you? It'll alleviate stress. That's a desire for financial freedom based on fear. Or then I won't have to worry about money so much. That's a desire for financial freedom based on fear. So now we're starting to talk about when we move up the emotional grid, now we're at a place to step into step 4, which is uncovering your big vision and your desires from a conscious place. Now, again, we're already at a place, and this is what's so cool, is that when we're truly at this place of contentment, of knowing I have everything, I am whole and complete, regardless of what happens in my business, we move into a place of detachment, of non-attachment, and we feel that wholeness and that completeness in our life and the ability to create the experiences that we want of love, joy, freedom, appreciation, happiness, laughter, playfulness. Now, from this place of contentment, we can step into and say, so I have everything I need. And we can say, now what would amplify and expand what I already have? Now we're starting to create desires from a conscious place that's not based in fear. What could I do if this was expanded? Or how could this happen even more effortlessly than it already is? So you can see the power. Now we're moving into optimism, which is up the emotional grid. We're moving into possibility. We're moving into more, but more not from a place of lack, more from a place of expansion. You feel the difference? So now we want to uncover that big vision, and we want to ask ourselves, we already have the true freedom, we already have the detachment. How can I amplify it? How can I serve? How can I expand? And this is where you all maybe have heard me say this before, my favorite quote from Walt Disney is, I don't make movies to make money. I make money to make more movies. This is where that's a very expansive desire for wealth. This is where you create what I call a wealth tornado, because now it's, wow, if I have this much revenue coming in, then I can create the supports that allow me to play in my zone of genius and serve in my highest capacity, because now I can invest in the people in their zones of genius. I can further the economy. It frees up my time to do the things that I love the most, to serve more people, to have a greater reach. And it takes financial resources to be able to do that. So I want to generate more wealth so that I can do more of the things I already love to do. The emotional grid, and that is the wealth tornado that we're talking about, how we can have desire not from a place of lack. We can have desire from a high conscious place. So now it's clearly articulating that vision and ensuring that anything and everything that we're desiring is truly coming from a higher level of consciousness than from a place of lack, from a place of not enoughness. So how do we know that we're having desires based on a place of not enoughness? Is anytime that we're feeling like, what will people think? How will this make me look? We can just feel it in our ego, and most of us can feel it in our body when it's coming from a more ego place. It's interesting. We just went through this with our family. My husband was talking about wanting a new truck. And we can get a new truck, but it's like, why? For what purpose do we want this truck? And we started feeling it. Our whole family, everywhere we went, we're like, oh, look at that truck. Oh, look at that truck. Oh, what do you think of that truck? We're driving through car lots. And I started feeling what we say in our house is we were getting a case of the gimmies. It was like, gimme, gimme, gimme. And we were like, what is happening? We are being consumed by something that really, we don't even know why we want this right now. And we just put the brakes on all of it because, again, it was a desire coming from a place of lack. Oh, our car isn't very nice and it's messy and the boys are embarrassed and whatever it may be. And it's a nice car. It's a nice car, but we wanted more nice, more appealing for all, not the wrong reasons, but not conscious reasons with how we like to play in this field of wealth and abundance and money. So there's an example for you. So now that you have your big vision, you have your conscious desires, now it's very simple, because when you're tapped into those desires, when you're tapped into that place, when you have the vision, when you see how you want to serve the world, when you see how you want to share your gifts, now everything that you're doing in your business, you act as if you already are where you want to be. So many times we hear act as if, but we can only move up the emotional grid in a certain order, which is why I want to share this with all of you, because we can't go from worry and anxiety to acting as if we're a millionaire. We can't do that. If I say an affirmation, I am a millionaire and I'm terrified of money, what do I hear in my head right after that? Bullshit. No, you're not. So we have to move up the grid. That's where this process moves you from fear, anxiety to contentment, to possibility, creating the big vision, to now acting as if, which is anticipation, eagerness, positive belief, a knowing that it is as good as done. So when we act as if, it's start thinking about if your business were already where you think you want it to be. Let's say you have a full client roster, right? You have a full client roster, or you're generating multiple 5 figures a month, or whatever it is for you that you've consciously come up with, your big vision. Now, how do you start showing up? How do you market? How do you sell? What's the process people go through when they interact with you? If you have a full client caseload, what are you doing? How are you showing up? How are you connecting with people? How are you being more in your authority? If you think, this is how we shortcut success too. I was just meeting with a client this morning, and she's, I'd really like to do an application process in order to do calls like you do, but I'm just not there yet. I should just take all the calls that I need and want. I'm like, no. If you want to, this is a perfect example. This is a little sidetrack, but you guys are going to love this. So that example, especially if you're a new entrepreneur, maybe you're telling yourself, the story you're telling yourself is, I want to do that when I get there. I'll be ready to do that after I have my first 8 clients, or I'll be ready to do that step. When we're acting as if, we implement the steps as though we are already where we want to be. And here's why it shortcuts it, because let's take this example of opening up your calendar so anybody and everybody can hop on a call with you, versus having people actually fill out an application to have a conversation so that you can know whether or not you can help them, or how serious they are about getting help, or if they actually even want a solution, or if they just want to pick your brain. So implement the authority right away, because here's what happens if we don't in this situation. at least in my experience, when I just open up my calendar, I get tire kickers. I get people that just want to be validated that they should remain in their struggle and stay focused on their struggle. I get people that have no intention of actually ever implementing a solution because they're too attached to the struggle. And so what happens then, those sales conversations feel discouraging. They don't close. So then what does that do to your psyche? I suck at sales. I'm no good at this. No, you don't suck at sales. You're just not connecting with the people that you're meant to serve and that are ready to move forward with you. Or then when people do say yes, because we just opened it up, you get clients that bore the pants off of you. Then you start to question, am I not a good coach? Why isn't this working? They're not getting results. So if you just shortcut everything and go to your authority as if you already are where you want to be, then you get to work with the clients that jazz you. You get to save the time and reinvest the time in your business that you would have been spending with people that actually have no intention of transforming their life. So this is the space where you act as if there are things that you are saying, I'll do that when, no, act as if time is now. Okay, those are the 5 steps. We just covered a lot. What's one tiny shift that you can start playing with right now? What does this do when you think about breaking through financial fears or financial worries and how to move up the emotional grid? I'm just going to recap what we covered. So again, we talked about step 1 was all about go there, give the fear a voice, allow it to fully flesh out its worst case scenario by saying, then what will happen? Then what will happen? Allow yourself to be fully in worst case scenario. That was step 1. Step 2, then dial it back by asking, how true is that really? Start pulling back the irrational aspects of the fear and dial it back. Step 3, my favorite step, what truly remains if all is lost? This is the big shift from fear, worry, anxiety into contentment and the realization that true freedom lies in realizing you already have everything that you think the thing is going to bring you. And then step 4, uncover that big vision. Now you're in a conscious place to uncover a vision that's not from a place of fear, but from a place of your highest expansive self to create a wealth tornado. And then step 5, acting as if the vision has already happened. So good stuff right there. Lots of juicy wealth consciousness for you. Requires more time up front, but saves you time over the long haul. That is level 5, Maya. Yes, because when we just take the time up front, because we have the knowing it's all going to work out. This is the other thing too I work with people on, and that I work with myself on when I'm in those moments of fear, is everything's temporary. We can take our time and know that when we invest the time on the front end, it saves us time on the back end. So the short vision is get it done, productive, boom, hammer it out so we can get it rolling. The level 5 long-term is being willing to take the time to save the time later. Exactly. Amen, Wendy. Yes, you know what? One of the things I'll just say, this is not on Wendy, but this just sparked for me, Wendy. One of the things I'll just say is I see so many coaches, and I want you guys to pay attention to this because some of you are clients and I see you doing this too. I want you to think for a second, because one of the things that we can do is like we can post something and somebody be like, oh my gosh, I love this, or they'll share it or something. And then what we do, we thank them as if they did us a favor. Thank you for sharing that, or thank you for commenting on that, or thank you for, it's shit, we did them a favor by inspiring them. There's this place where we step out of our authority and we give more authority to our followers than we do to ourselves. So just something to keep in mind, just watch, it's the intention again, right? When you're a thought leader and you're acting as if you're Oprah, you're not like, oh, thanks for commenting on that. Or it's no, be the authority. If they say that was awesome, be like, I'm so glad that resonated with you. How awesome to be inspired on this beautiful day, as opposed to thank you. Thanks for doing that. People aren't doing you favors. It's not for you, that you inspired them. Own the power that you stepped into. Jackie, digging deep into what I really want and know I can go for it. Love the part about closing up my calendar and finding those clients who are perfect. Exactly. That's the biggest thing, back to this whole, nobody needs to do us favors. Will you please do some of my comp sessions so I get my certification? You're changing lives. This is not people doing favors for you. You're changing lives. You are giving them the greatest gift on the face of this planet. Anytime that we feel like somebody's doing a favor for us, that we're coming from a place of insecurity. So that's what I got for you guys today. 5 steps to go from financial fear, worry, anxiety. And again, if you experience that, it's normal and it's natural. We all experience it. We all experience it. And to feel shame around it, I can tell you, so I already shared with you where I uncovered this process the first time was leaving my job. I built a multiple 5-figure a month business, and I let it all go because I was burnt out and racked up $100,000 in credit card debt because I kept reinvesting back into my business more than my business was making, and then my business didn't keep growing. So even after building a business to multiple 6 figures, I hit the depths of despair in financial fear. And so there is no arrival. But when you know that you have a path to move out of it, no matter when it comes up, then you're officially free. Because here's what I know for sure is once you have this knowledge and you know this knowledge and you're implementing it, I'm not afraid of anything happening financially, because I know no matter what happens, I have a process to constantly pull me out. And then how does that help you show up in your business more detached, less salesy, feeling less icky, feeling less desperate? Because no matter what happens, I can rebuild from scratch over and over again with this knowledge. And you can rebuild from scratch over and over again with this knowledge. There's your takeaway. I have a path no matter what happens. Yeah. You can't unlearn this stuff, you guys. That's why I love teaching this energy stuff, because once you understand it and you build your muscle around it, you become unstoppable. You can't unlearn it. You can't unlearn the trust that you have in being cared for and provided for. And back to that step 3, the big step 3 that we talked about, when everything is lost, what still remains, and what still remains is actually everything. And so really there's nothing you can lose, because you already have access to everything that you're working so hard to get, or that we believe money will bring us, or that we believe clients will bring us, or that we believe success will bring us, or that we believe love will bring us, or that we believe health will bring us. And when we realize that we already have everything, we step into alignment with amplifying and attracting more of it. All right, that's it, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. And it's such an honor to serve and connect here. I appreciate each and every one of you, more than because your being here allows me to share my message with the world. And thank you. All right, bye, everybody.